Welcome back to Mystic Radio with Robin Alexis and very special guest Ken Sylvester. As those of you who have been listening to this season of Mystic Radio, it's all been about the stories that are in Ken's book and the story that's in my book, which has to do with extraterrestrials and discovering just how prevalent they have been visiting our planet. And we've also been discovering through Ken that they love to come visit children. And these are very, very well documented cases. Now, Ken and I have talked about he saw a UFO with a friend when he was 14, and then I've been abducted many, many times. I've had good, bad, indifferent experiences with ETs. But the one I wrote about in the book, A Conversation with Extraterrestrials, was a very unpleasant abduction experience. So before we get into all that, I do want to remind people that Ken's book is available on Amazon, and it is called We're Not Alone, and Here's the Proof. 65% of the profits from that book go to cancer research in honor of his daughter Amber, who left this world through the experience of breast cancer. So very, very nice way to help his daughter's memory. And this has just been so mind-boggling because when I wrote my book with my friend who experienced this with me when I was 11, I had no idea I was going to find out about Ken Sylvester. And then I could get his phone number and he'd talk to me and we'd wind up doing a podcast. But I got to tell you, it's not just this podcast. We're going to do some interesting things as this last show for this season of Mystic Radio with Robin Alexis. But the big news is Ken and I are going to launch the Believe Me movement. It is going to be our own membership on our Facebook page, which is called A Second Conversation with Extraterrestrials. That's where all the shows are posted and any information that we have discovered that we wanted to share with all of you. You can find it there. And we're going to have a membership on that Facebook page called Believe Me Movement. And we invite all of you who have had any kind of experience, whether you've seen a UFO or you've been encountered, and a lot of you may have had pleasant encounters. Some of you may have been traumatized out of your minds, but we can all be in this movement together. We can kind of come out of the closet and stop letting other people tell us that we're nuts, and we can also support each other for the fact that we have actually been having these experiences. So if you want to learn more about my book, you go to Amazon and you put in Robin Alexis, A Conversation with Extraterrestrials, which is a book to parents to tell parents, look, if your kid comes to you and says they're abducted, you better pay attention because it's going to start happening more and more. That's also why Ken and I have launched Believe Me Movement, and you're going to see all kinds of things with that. But for now, let's see what's going to happen on this show, and then stay tuned, learn about what we're doing on Facebook, A Second Conversation with Extraterrestrials, where the membership will be for the Believe Me movement. Now, Ken, before we start talking to extraterrestrials today, did you want to add anything to what I just said?
I guess we could just tell them when the two shows are going to be posted. We'll be posting later today the previous show, which was done on Melbourne. Is that correct, Robin?
Yes.
And it also we put on Friday. On Wednesday, it'll be 3 o'clock, well, a little bit later than 3 o'clock today, Michigan time, and California time to match up with that. And then on Friday, we put it on Facebook at 5 p.m. California time and 8 o'clock Friday evening, and that'll be Melbourne. And then the following Wednesday will be the show on the schools in Wales, and then the following week from that will be today's show that we're doing now. And one last thing, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so I invite all you to take a look at our books and see, knowing that part of the contribution is going to go help fight breast cancer. And with that, I turn it back to you, Robin, to see if we can connect with our alien friends.
And I do also want to remind people that I will be continuing with the podcast, Mystic Radio with Rob and Alexis. It's just in the next season, there'll be another guest. But because Ken and I are having so much fun with this, we're going to have another podcast. And that will be the Believe Me movement, which you'll learn more and more and more about because it's going to be wonderful. Okay, so one of the ETs who was involved in my unpleasant abduction when I was 11 years old, which you can read about when you read the book, A Conversation with Extraterrestrials, the incident itself. But he called himself Maxwell, and I do speak to him a bit in my book, but I can see that he is here so that if Ken wants to direct some questions his way, that's okay. There is another ET here motioning me away, saying he doesn't like Maxwell and he doesn't want to be interviewed on the same show. He wants his own platform, and he wants us to take him more seriously, and perhaps even will write a book directly about this other particular ET. So what is that ET's name, Ken?
Beanie.
Beanie, yes.
Yeah,
Beanie
is and so we named him Beanie. That's capital B-E dash capital N-E.
Okay, yeah, I can see him
we can
visibly.
Talk to him later.
Yeah, he doesn't like Maxwell, honestly. So, okay, so we have that. All right, let me just get settled down a little bit more here. And I want to call in some energy protection and discernment. So, in other words, Ken, when I'm going into channeling, I'm going to do the best I can to bring forth what is actually being said. But if there's a way that you feel like he's tricking us, he's not being straightforward, or just kind of saying what he thinks we want to hear, I just like for both of us to be as discerning as possible as we engage with Maxwell.
Yes, we'll nudge him back to reality.
Yeah. All right. So, what kinds of questions did you want to ask Maxwell?
I am ready. Are you ready, Maxwell?
He says he is.
Okay. My first question to Maxwell is, why are they interested in humans?
Okay. So, Maxwell, why are you interested in humans? He says that we are a very fascinating species and that it's easy to harvest from us. So if there's some part of us that they find can be useful to them, they find us like a wonderful resource, right? It's kind of, he says we're easy to manipulate, we're easy to contact, we're easy to con, and they've kind of had their way with us.
Okay. And what kind of resources are they most interested in from us?
Well, they would like to be able to duplicate our bodysuits. They think that it would be really handy if they could either clone us or almost like an artificial intelligence creation of us that then they can move themselves into and then appear to be human and function within our world and explore it and make all kinds of decisions and choices. And they're also just interested to see in how much they can influence us. It's an experiment for them.
Okay. So, Maxwell, what do you hope to teach us humans that you have your secrets?
He says initially it was very one-sided, that it wasn't about what they could give us at all. They didn't even think that we were smart enough to become cognizant enough of their presence and to kind of call them out. So they're still in a learning curve of what kind of interactions they actually want with us once they realize that some of us are more intelligent and aware of them than they had anticipated.
Okay. Maxwell, how would you describe yourself?
He says, I would describe myself as a benevolent being who's willing to go into various environments, both in this dimension and in other dimensions, and make contact with the humans in parts of themselves that they don't know even exist. He says it's very easy to take advantage of humans when they're not aware of their own sovereignty, they're not aware of their own divinity, they're not aware of the power that they have. And so it's easy to go in and take that power and use that power that was given to the human and then do with it what they want. What was the question?
Well, that describes what they want to do, but I was asking Maxwell actually to describe his physical appearance if we were to see him, what he looks like.
Okay. So Maxwell, why did you answer the question in the way that you did? He says because it's so easy to shapeshift. If I go into the consciousness of one human and I decide to duplicate their DNA and clone myself into that so that my energy is a match, they don't even know that I've created a match frequency and that I'm hosting on them or I'm doing something with them or I'm influencing them. So basically, how do I look? I look how I need to look when I'm doing whatever research it is that I'm doing. So say, for example, if he wanted to walk into the White House and not be seen, he could make himself look like, the housekeeper or the janitor, or he could make himself look like the president, right? Like he can do whatever he wants because he can let himself become an image of whatever he feels he needs to be seen as in order to do whatever it is he's up to.
Okay. So basically, from what I hear Maxwell saying, is that we would never see him in his true form. He always would be shape-shifting so that he can take advantage of us.
That has been the case so far, yes. I mean, ultimately, he is a mantis being, and sometimes he will look like kind of like an ant standing up that's, 17 feet tall or 8 feet tall with some sort of clothing on. But for the most part, when he's interacting with humans, he would terrify them if he looked like how he looks. So he does what he needs to do to get around.
Okay. And Maxwell, are you guys currently visiting Earth?
Oh, yes. We have no intentions of leaving.
And how often are you around our planet?
We've been here longer than you. And we plan on staying longer than your race.
So you're visiting us right now on a daily basis around the world?
We reside around the world. We're not visiting.
Okay. So are you here in physical form on our planet?
One would say yes. Although we can make ourselves adaptable to different ranges of invisibility or shape-shifting into different images, we can also make ourselves look like an animal. And so say sometimes we have become much more benevolent being around the humans. I've made us sound atrocious, but we have found that, for example, if there's a weeping child in the yard, that we could make ourselves appear to be like a rabbit or maybe a squirrel or a bird or something that will come and make some sort of contact with the weeping child. And if the humans would pay more attention to their own children, then we wouldn't be needing to do this. But you guys no longer teach your children how to manage their own energy, to know their own energy, to take care of their own heart and their own feelings, to think for themselves, to have a relationship with nature. So the more that you are failing teaching the future generations of peace what being human is, the more we are adapting ourselves into different forms and presenting to these children in various attempts to assist them in their own evolution.
Okay. And are you currently abducting humans?
Yes, we do it slightly different than we did before. In Robin's situation, when she was 11, we literally would levitate her up into the ship, and then she would be placed into what would be like a dentist chair, and then it would be leaned back. She would be pinned down. Her eyes would be pinned open, and we were performing examinations on her eyes, because if we were going to be coming into human form, we wanted to be able to have the best kind of eyesight. And we felt that we had power enough over her that we could use her, as you would say, as a guinea pig to do research to find out what ways we could help improve eyesight. And we told her, and when she was so mad and uncomfortable, that someday she would grow up and her eyes would have problems, and then there would be like LASIK surgery or other various ways of eyes healing. And the truth be told, even though she is still mad at us about that, that her eyes are now 20/20. And when we knew her, she was wearing Coke bottle glasses. So there, it's like when like cosmetic companies or whatever are doing these horrific experiments on dogs or rabbits or whatever, and everybody gets all upset about it. Well, it does actually create a good product that people then do use. And that is what we did to her. And yes, we do still abduct humans for medical purposes to see what we can do to create the human body to be functioning more efficiently, not for you so much, because we don't know what the human race is ultimately going to do, but the DNA and other systems that you have, we can take those tools and we can create bodies that will be healthier and that will be more sustainable. So when whoever is left on this planet, we will, or whoever is comfortable with receiving what we have been doing, will receive these healthier bodies. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but it brings up several other questions. So you're improving just the eyesight on these people that you abduct, and then they can look forward to you coming back at a later date, since you've adapted them so you'll be able to see better when you come here, and you won't have to wear glasses, and you'll be able to see with 20/20 vision. So these abductees that you're doing now can expect in the future that you're going to probably shapeshift and take over their bodies?
Well, it's not only linear to the experimentation that we've done with eyesight. There have been other things as well, like you speak of cancer. We have been doing research on people's bodies for eons of time for what you speak of as cancer. In our language, cancer is the same frequency as war. So whether it's the war within on the own body towards the own body, or you are conducting wars against one another, these are things that we do research on, trying to figure out how to make the whole experience more pleasant, because there's really no reason for a vibration to create cancer or war. Is there a way to take the frequency that exists that does that and shape-shift it so that it's doing something very benevolent that will help the body heal and help the human race get along, help the human race get along with the mantis beings? We're down with that. So it's not just eyesight that we are doing this. So multiple people presently right now who have kidney disease, Lyme disease, various forms of cancer, those of you who have celiac disease, or other autoimmune diseases, that's where our groups of mantis beings are doing abduction and hosting experiments, and then putting all that the different groups are together. It goes back to a laboratory on the ship, where we then do research to find out what can we do to heal this situation. And again, we don't do it for you, we're doing it for us, but it is going to so that was a spirit guide coming in and telling me to end this conversation. And the reason is because when conversations like this start to divulge the magnitude of what's going on, you'll often get the notice of the men in black and beings like that. So this conversation is coming to a close, and I hope it was very useful. And I'm sure you have more questions now, Ken, than you had before.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, let me just take a moment and see if I can't, obviously, Maxwell can't spill the beans anymore in what he's doing. Evidently, the government must know full well what's going on, because the men in black and the shutdown just happened. So that's fine. We can pace ourselves with information. So why don't we talk for a moment before we close this show, that when we launch the new podcast sometime in January, it will be called the Believe Me Movement. Is that correct, Ken?
Yes, Robin, that is correct.
Okay.
All
right.
Set up a safe space so people can call and talk about their experiences. And some of this can be done before they've even seek professional help, like therapy or a hypnotist. If they're out there trying to tell their story and they're running into, like you did, resistance from people believing them, and they're experiencing stress, then this will be an outlet for them to start moving them through the process of how to live with this.
Wow, it has been such a delight to do this first season with you, Ken, and I'm really looking forward to our own brand new podcast, the Believe Me Movement. Again, our Facebook page is A Second Conversation with Extraterrestrials. That is where we will have a membership page where you can come and begin to get support for whatever your experience was with extraterrestrials. And that is something I do professionally. You can go to my website, robinalexis.com. I've worked with people who have been abducted for about 30 years, so I definitely know how to help if you're struggling with that. But, let's just start out on the membership. And who knows what we'll do in that membership. Again, it's on Facebook, Second Conversation with Extraterrestrials. Again, Ken's book on Amazon. Ken Sylvester, We're Not Alone, and here's the proof. 65% of the proceeds goes to cancer research to honor his daughter who died of breast cancer, and this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The book is only $7.95. Do encourage you to get it for anyone you can think of might be interested in it for a Christmas present. And then, of course, there's my book. Actually, I have 4 books, but you can learn about those if you just put Robin Alexis Books when you go to Amazon. So thank you so much. Happy holidays to everybody, and we will see you on the Facebook page, A Second Conversation with Extraterrestrials, and we will see you next year with a new podcast, Believe Me Movement. All right, Ken, anything you want to say before we close the call for the year?
Well, I guess we'll say goodbye to our supposed friend Maxwell.
Yeah, he's pretty strong-minded, isn't he? All right, well, yes. Yes, he can be, but at least he's willing to talk. And now we know why.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Have a good holiday season, everybody. Namaste.